showtime!
It's time again, CFM Radio.
It is once again showtime, and we are back on another Wednesday with video game music and news.
The best video game music and news. This side of wherever you get your news. We're going to get into our first news story here, but we have a little bit of breaking news. From CNN, Jim Ryan announced it, PlayStation boss, announcing he's stepping down.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Jim Ryan, he's going to retire after 28 years with Sony. This just broke about an hour ago. This article says since 1994, and he was appointed CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment in our Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2019. So this guy has had his hands in pretty much everything PlayStation since the beginning.
Wow. Yeah. Several console generations under his belt. Well, good for him. And maybe if we stay tuned, we might see some changes that gamers could feel in the art form and craft and the scene.
It's going to be an interesting new era for PlayStation. The PlayStation 5 is essentially going to be the remainder of his legacy. Yeah. And the PlayStation 6 or whatever PlayStation after that is probably going to be the beginning of the next whoever his successor's legacy. So he probably has a successor. He probably trained a successor for this a long time ago. These things don't just happen. We love talking old school, but we got to bring it to the now. And we talk a lot about cloud and on-demand gaming here on the show. But last month, we heard reports of services such as Gamepass hitting a plateau in the U.S. market. Different outlets came out and shared analytics that said, spending had hit a $400 million mark, and that was pretty much the cap for the USA market. Now, it seems like Devolver Digital may be the first indie game publisher to turn away from launch day access to their games on services such as these.
Yeah. Similar to what goes on in movies too. Like how long do you want it to take to hit streaming platforms after a premiere, and what's going to happen with your work once it gets out there into streaming hands. Anyone can do what they will with it. See it for what it is, see it for what it's not, appropriate it. From Push Square, the headline is, quote, indie firm Devolver Digital rejected PS Plus Xbox Game Pass deals over, quote, undervalued games. From the article, building on reports of subscription fatigue where consumer spending is concerned, Devolver Digital claims it has turned down multiple proposals from platform holders as the offers, quote, undervalued titles, value, and revenue opportunities in 2023 and 2024. Further reading also reveals that another connection from a chat with a game analyst, Patrick O'Donnell, on gamesindustry.biz, who says, quote, the checks coming from Sony and Microsoft are just not as big as they were. And that creates problems if you're trying to if you're concentrated on that side of the market. With these sorts of reports combined with leaks that were combed through last week, the Xbox leaks, it's looking like betting on Game Pass is a way bigger risk than anyone might have thought. I will say, Drix, a lot of these indie games, I mean, I'm a Game Pass holder. Half of these indie games, I don't even look at them.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. And like, you know, that's just my experience. I'm talking from my experience. But honestly, we get these services to play the bigger games from bigger name publishers, and I can understand how the perspective of, oh, Starfield or Fallout 4 or you know, any of these games, these awesome games that you can play, any of the EA games, because EA is teamed up with Game Pass, you know, any of these awesome games that you can play day one on Game Pass, and then having that be like the funnel for them to experience all these other great games. So when they're done with those games, they can play these other games. But we'll talk more about this fact a little bit later in the show as well. But people normally today, they play like one game for like 200 hours.
Yeah, we're all people. We're all humans here. And there's a lot of I guess what you can call stands on the internet. People who just, yeah, they're really into one game, and that it makes them very happy. A lot of like esports tend to be like that too, where it's like you're just trying to get good to stay competitive and keep up with updates and things like that. There's plenty to keep us entertained out there.
Drix, people have been playing Skyrim for 20 years.
Yeah. Things like Minecraft and Roblox, like, especially if you're being social, there's even more reason just to hang out.
Oh my God, just hanging out with your friends.
And just see the same group of friends that you like to hang out with. So,
And, you know, speaking of other smaller name publishers, Nexon and Remnant 2. Remnant 2, it took us all by surprise. It released universal praise back in July. You know, the Souls-like shooter, the follow-up to Remnant from Ashes. Very, very cool take on the genre. But we got Xputer.com sitting down with the principal environmental artist at the developer Gunfire Games, Sean Bromstedt the second, to chat about the title with the headline, Remnant 2 interview, DLC plans, inspirations, and more. And in the interview, Bromstedt talks about the dynamic nature of the environments, the aesthetic and the atmosphere of the game. He gives sparse information about the 3 upcoming DLCs and how but he does like going into about how each mechanic was tested against the whole of the game to focus on the experience, to focus on giving you the best experience. You know, in this interview, he goes on to detail about even there are times when even he's running around the world that he's the lead on the world, designing the world and the environments, and he thinks he knows every nook and cranny, and there are things that he turns a corner, finds a treasure, still surprises him.
Yeah, that's the kind of quality you want from enjoying your own work.
And with 3 upcoming DLCs, if you got Remnant 2, looks like you got a lot to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. A whole lot of game coming your way still.
Yeah, especially with the truly procedurally generated nature of the game. Like, I Remnant 2 is going to be one of those games that I pick up around the holidays. But like, from what I understand, even the story is procedurally generated. Like, all the beats can happen at different moments for different playthroughs, different people.
Wow.
So.
Oh yeah. It takes a lot of work and quality control to.
Yeah, man.
Almost machine learn a system like that.
Especially with the co-op nature.
Yeah.
Of
that's
the
incredible.
game. It's pretty full.
Looks like we've still got some holiday game purchases to make towards the end of the year.
We are back.
Yeah, a little bit of Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, song called Precious Thing there. And if you play games, you probably know this song.
Oh yeah, I think everybody who plays video games has, or is even video game adjacent, knows this little jingle.
Even if you just spend too much time on YouTube,
yeah,
you've probably heard it.
Yeah, listen to any sort of video essay. Like, you probably know this one.
Shake it, shake it, mama, shake it for me. Get me busy with that ass, 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 ass. Work it good, work it the best. Ooh, let me know I need ass, 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 ass. I can make you shake if you want the beat too. I can make you nude. Ass, ass.
We've also got new releases this week. For those of you not digging into Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. The first up is Infinity Strash, Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai. From the Steam page, the memories of the hero in your hands. Experience the story of the legendary anime series Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai, in an exhilarating action role-playing game that combines stunning visuals with art from the anime and manga. This one is hitting all platforms tomorrow, Thursday, September 28th. And then releasing the same day is a unique little title in Wildmender. From the Steam page, a desert gardening survival game. Start from a tiny spring and cultivate a blooming garden. Explore a vast world amid the sands and uncover its mysteries. Can you defend against the relentless forces of nature and mysterious wraith corruption to bring life to a dying world? This game sounds unique in that it offers 4-player co-op in a procedurally generated world with a focus on bringing greenery back to the world. And it definitely one of those games that sounds like pretty chill if you just want to hang out with your friends,
Yeah, and really nice to look at. I mean, looking at some of the visuals, it's very, very canvas-like, and you can see how the color palette kind of changes as you bring life to what was once barren.
Yeah, it really pops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give you a cozy game, something to be proud of by the time you put any time into it.
Yeah, and you and your friends can get in on it too, You and your buddies can get in on all the gardening action. Between this game and Fae Farm, you got a lot of cozy games to chew on. Finally, and arguably the biggest release this week is EA Sports FC 24. It releases this Friday, September 29th. This is the first title in the franchise that is supposed to be replacing FIFA in the EA Sports catalog. And it's coming out with a hot feature it calls Hypermotion V. From the web.
Hypermotion V.
Hypermotion V. Very anime, right?
Yep. Gotta say it cool.
Right? You gotta like Gigantor. From the website. Driving the biggest leap forward in gameplay authenticity and realism to date, Hypermotion V translates the rhythm and fluidity of real-world football into the world's game using volumetric data of more than 180 top-tier matches from competitions like the UEFA Men's and Women's Champions League, Premier League, and La Liga, EA Sports. This means that the movement in EA Sports FC 24 comes from teams like Real Madrid, PSG, and Manchester City, and that animations of hundreds of in-game players are influenced by actions of real-world professionals on the pitch. Advanced 11 versus 11 match capture and machine learning combine to bring Hypermotion V to life. And the site then goes on to detail that the feature is exclusive to PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC, as well as the use of its machine learning AI that gives you that true football soccer experience. You know, Drix, that sounds like a pretty cool thing if you're really, really into the scene. Like if you're into soccer, football, and you want to get in, like feel like you're watching like a game, but like playing it. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot of game footage that they could feed into some machine learning system and just come up with something super cool and different and unique to capture those motions you'd see on the soccer field in any game,
right,
at that level.
Yeah, to try to make it seem like the guys are actually going for the ball, like they're actually trying to move their feet in a convincing way. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. You know, when you look at it, you see some footage on YouTube. You check out some of the trailers for it. It looks pretty cool. I think if you're into that, I haven't played a FIFA since, thank God, FIFA 18. I think on the PS3 was the last FIFA I actually sat down and played. But
yeah,
like,
probably same.
Yeah, but like, you know, if you're really into that, especially if you have a favorite player, you know, if you follow one of these teams, you can probably tell the
difference between players and like how they move and
stuff. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
That's what I'm getting.
That's what I mean. Hey, you know what? Seems like a great experience to be get in on. You get EA Sports FC releases tomorrow or Friday, September 29th. Biggest release of the week. Check it out, because I gotta tell you, everybody, October is looking stacked. The generation's pretty much planned out for you. Like, you've got, like, if you want to be on the cutting edge, you get a PlayStation 5, you know, or an Xbox Series X, one of the two. You have the option of just experiencing, I guess, 2/3 of next gen, or of the current generation that we're in, with an Xbox Series S for $300. You know, if you just want to, like, play something, right?
Yep.
You just want to play some Starfield, grab
or
yourself
enjoy your Game Pass.
Yeah, and enjoy your Game Pass. Grab yourself some a $300 box that just doesn't have a disc drive, but it connects to the internet and plays everything. You know, like there's you have a Switch. Grab a Switch if you want a nice all-arounder. Switch, honestly, is your indie game machine, right? Like, that's the thing that has every indie game on it. Every indie game wants to be on the Switch. So, like, that's a great portable console. The hybrid ability with it. You know, a new one is coming out. Everybody says what Microsoft was briefed. They say in their leak it was briefed on it. What at end of the year? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, next generation of Switch comes
Yep.
right around the corner.
right around the corner. And you know, if you want to be on the cutting edge, you probably already have one of these badass consoles or a great PC. PC seems to be the way to go if you just want the variety. You know, you hear a lot of different performance bugs with a lot of these games on PC, but you know, the big name games, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield seems to run well on PC. You know, like, you could play the what you're probably going to end up watching at the Game Awards.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you only really need to worry about FOMO if you really want to play a PlayStation exclusive game, which there are a few. You know, you got Final Fantasy 16, fantastic game. You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna have Spider-Man 2 later on in the year. You're gonna need a PlayStation for that. Like, but
Yeah.
other than that, you're
You're not missing a whole
You're
lot.
not missing a
in
whole
the
lot.
grand scope of things.
yeah, especially if you got a decent PC.
Especially if you have one of those in your house.
Yeah, you know. You know who else has it covered? Todd Howard.
Yeah, I'm really liking what we've just seen from Todd Howard.
You know, Todd Howard, the Todd Howard Academy, his Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences YouTube interview, it's really something special. Ted Price of Insomniac Game Studios, yes, the competing PlayStation studio, hosts an excellent interview that goes into much more than just Starfield with old Todd Howard. It's like way more than a behind-the-scenes Starfield feature. They talk inspiration from older games going back as far as the Apple II and even canned projects that were in Bethesda. They talk what it's like to develop games in the shadow of a corporate acquisition and Todd Howard's most important rules for game development. This interview, however, is incredible and totally worth your time to watch the whole thing. I loved it, Drix. Like, I know the big meme coming out of this interview is, haha, you know, you gotta make make space fighting AI dumb so player can shoot enemy good. But like, man, there's so much in this interview.
Yeah, the real human side to these bits of code and software that we all like to purchase and enjoy, because these are a couple of monsters in their field, and they're just, you know, I've never been so hooked to a couple of guys having just a casual conversation about their work and the kind of things that go into these big projects that they got to manage.
It was awesome, you know, hearing Todd talk about all the different ways that he tries to give the player control. You know, he tries to balance the way he tries to balance his game versus the game feel and what you, the player, are going to feel empowered by versus what might end up being a hindrance to you. And not to you specifically or to the game itself, but to your enjoyment of it. And like very, very focused on you, the player, and giving you the tools to create whatever you want in this space. his philosophy on what a RPG is blew my mind. Like, you know, what it's not just, he doesn't just use RPG as an excuse, you know what I mean? And he even touches on it. It's like, oh, you know, well, it's an RPG, and it's gonna have that. Like, no, what role does the action that your character is about to do fill in the world that you're playing in? You know what I mean? Like, very, very big picture, but
think of any, you know, Elder Scrolls quest. You'll find some repercussions and things like that. Interesting, he actually starts with like atmospheric elements of like the setting and stuff too. He likes to hear like music and think about like the heads-up display and sort of how he's immediately from the ground up thinking about like how players are going to interact with this and how that's changed over the years to where, you know, people will interact with a game like Skyrim for decades.
Yes.
And it'll evolve and change.
Very interesting.
Not from the cartridge era anymore.
Very, very interesting to hear him talk about how the big differences between how gamers consume and play games today versus back even during like the Oblivion days. You know, you thought people be playing Oblivion forever, right? You thought people were playing games like Morrowind forever. It's apparently, according to Todd Howard, it's nothing compared to how people play games today.
Yeah. And it's cool, of course, to see like they took off their work hat almost a little bit. And they're like, they mentioned it for a second, like, I don't know, should we even be talking? Like, are we kind of like competing in the market or whatever? But like, he even gave like a tip of the hat to the, you know, new Zelda game for doing something that he enjoys, which is, you know, giving the player the decision to like build and you know, enough tools to explore and also be entertained, you know, while still keeping it fresh or something that the player created and influencing the world and the environment in the game.
The point they touched on where they were talking about they were talking about game length and about how that's a contentious idea in the industry right now. Are games too long? That is a question that is being asked. And where does it start and where does it end? And it's interesting to hear Todd Howard's perspectives on it, because it's like, you know, it might be driven by gamers or the media or pundits, talking heads, right? But ultimately, it begins with the game dev and the technology that they have access to. You know, what things they want to push, where they want their artistic vision to go. You know what I mean? And if it ends up being a 300-hour 5 years in development experience, then that's where it ends up. Essentially, that's kind of how that's at least kind of the idea that I got from the discussion, because the way that these two guys were spitballing ideas back and forth and pretty much inspiring one another was it was very profound, and you could tell. That's why I say, if you have the time, you got to watch. I encourage anybody to watch the whole thing, because it's a very, 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 these guys, like you said, Drix, are monsters in the industry, and they have so much vision And you would never, you listen to this interview and you would never think these guys, their ideas are so like down to earth and stuff like that, because you play the game and it fucking blows your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the length and breadth of the worlds that they've created and just the amount of time you can give exploring them to their fullest and really taking in and tasting everything. It's a lot of work, a lot of people, big team to manage, a lot goes into it, and yeah, you're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth how it happens. Something to access on YouTube if you have the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, the Todd Howard interview. There was it's the second one. This is the Starfield interview. I believe he had another one on Skyrim. So if you have the time, it's a little bit lengthy. It's about an hour, but check it out. It's definitely worth the time. CFM Radio.
Video game music and news from us to use.
And I think it's time to say that's a wrap, everyone. We all hope that you've been having a great night. And I think it's time for us to get out of here. Drix, until next time.
Till next time, good buddy.
And thank you all for listening. See you next week.